out to a writer I recently brought on. I work with him outside of this. His name is Omar Abdullah, attendee currently at Florida Atlantic University. He's going to be one of our baseball and football guys. And all I can say before we speak to Bill is just check out his stuff. He does good stuff, and hopefully, he'll be a part of this sooner rather than later.
All right, well, one guy that'll be part of it real sooner, his name is Bill Winters. And Bill, welcome back to the Sports Exchange. Glad to have you with you, Billy.
Hey, Scott, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, thanks. Glad to have you back on your regular Tuesday spot. How you doing? All rested, ready for me to bombard you with some NFL stuff so we can get ready for your show tomorrow night? All right, good.
Fire away.
All right. We'll start off with the Carolina Panthers placing Cam Newton on IR. Good move for the Panthers. Bad, will Cam Newton be a Panther next year?
Probably not, because of the salary that he's got. But remember I told you need to have two quarterbacks. So they're going to go with Allen and see how they do till the end of the season. And then they'll probably ask Cam to take a pay cut, and he'll probably say no, so he'll probably go somewhere else.
And, Bill, it's Lewis here. Just wanted to...
Hey, Lewis.
Give me your take on this. I read today a report via Bleacher Report that if they were to get rid of Newton next year, they'd save $19.4 million in cap space. And given, other than the fact that Allen, he's looked pretty decent so far, other than the fact that he sometimes has butterfingers when the ball's in his hand, for lack of a professional term, he has drawn already 21 sacks in the 6 games that he's started. You think they may take some of that $19.4 million that they have and look to upgrade the offensive line via free agency?
They're going to have to do something. You can't. Cam is in the twilight of his career. He's injured. He may not make it back. This is a performance-laden league. So if he's going to play for the Panthers, he's going to take a major pay cut. And I don't think he's going to do that. So to answer your question, yeah, of course they're going to take that money and put it somewhere else where they can strengthen the team.
Okay, on to the next one. Bill, the Miami Dolphins running back Mark Walton has been suspended 4 games by the NFL. Stems from his 3 offseason arrests, which predated his time with the Dolphins. Again, here's a guy that just doesn't get it figured out. What do the Dolphins do with a guy like this?
Not pay him until he gets his act together.
Right.
Teach him a lesson. I mean, I believe he's a University of Miami product, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't looked too great in the parts of 2 seasons that he's played so far. But this just really furthers the question of what they're going to do at running back moving forward, doesn't it, Bill?
Yep.
So
it's a work in progress.
So, Bill, when you bring in a guy that has predated arrests, why would somebody bring in someone like that anyways? Are they that desperate or are they that stupid?
No, he's that good a player. But then again, he's probably been warned by the coaches, you do this again, you're out of here because you're, on a short leash, sort of say. And, you just can't seem to get your act together, so we're going to move on. So, this is a second chance league, but not a third and fourth chance league.
Okay. All right, let's go on to another disturbing story. Kellen Winslow II pleads guilty to rape and sexual battery. He's facing 12 to 18 years in prison, and he took the deal over life in prison. Do you think that a guy like Kellen Winslow II is facing CTE symptoms, according to his attorneys, because he lost $40 million in his NFL career?
No. Has nothing to do with CTE. It's a cop-out. Not when and he's lucky that he got that 12 years in the pokey. He'll probably be out in 5 or 6 years, and I don't think CTE has anything to do with it. Plus there were a lot of other cases against him as well. Those are the ones we're just hearing about. And I don't think it has anything to do with CTE. Absolutely not.
Okay, well, that's okay. I know that was one thing that was discussed, so I thought I would bring it to your attention. Nobody takes CTE.
No, these lawyers trying to do a job. They're trying to do a tough job. So, you're going to grasp at any straw that you can, but I'm not buying that at all.
I'm just throwing it out there and running it by, because it seems like a lot of these incidents, they could be at some point CTE related, but, I often wonder about that too with Winslow. All I know is he's a big bust and a guy that had potential, and unfortunately his father had an incredible career, but for things to have turned so badly and make the decisions when you're talking about sexual battery and rape. That's bad stuff. It really is.
Yeah. If you go through $40 million,
right,
and if you have CTE, you go get help.
Right.
So there's no excuse for his conduct, period.
Okay. That's fine.
Totally agree.
It seems like, unfortunately, the NFL, we're seeing too much bad stuff, Bill, off the field than we are on it. It's starting to become more and more disturbing by the second. So,
well, that's what makes people buy newspapers. We had this discussion last week that, the pendulum's all the way to the left.
right.
And you read the sports page, all you're doing is reading about players' contracts, and then you're reading about also violations with the law. And I think eventually the thing is going to start moving back to the middle again. And we'll start talking a little bit more about the good things in sports as opposed to the business and the criminal aspects.
Okay, let's talk about a city that I believe you once lived in, L.A. Chargers owner Dean Spanos called the reported London interest. I'll get into the expletives. The owners are concerned about the viability of two L.A. franchises. Can L.A. support two NFL franchises?
Yeah. You got to have to win and for them to come out. I don't understand. They're getting caught in their own BS. And I think Dean Spanos stepping up today was the soundbite of the year, if not the decade, because he called it absolute unadulterated BS. And they're just using that as leverage to get their job done. And, they always use cities like that with the Rays, using Montreal to try to get a new stadium. Now the Chargers are talking about, hey, we may go play in London, which is absolute nonsense. It's just a rumor designed to try to put leverage in a business deal.
Yeah.
Not paying any attention to it.
Obviously they're moving into that $4.5 billion stadium, I think, in L.A.
I believe next season.
Yeah. To me, the Chargers, how do you think they're going to do in that particular new building? I know they recently have been playing out of the MLS.
They'll draw 30 or 40,000.
You think so?
And if they win, they'll draw more. And the Rams don't like it because they have a competitor.
Keeps them honest, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And Greinke's going to have to pay some money to the city of St. Louis for what he did to them, because the courts ruled in the city of St. Louis's favor. So the Rams are under the gun a little bit. They're going to have to draw, and of course you want to eliminate the competition. The Chargers belong down in San Diego. I don't know what the league is doing there. I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but it is what it is.
Right. Well, I think, and I'll get into it though, that I think San Diego blew it. They had more than enough opportunities to get the Chargers a stadium. And you know what? I've always wondered if the LA deal fell through, where would the Chargers go? I don't think they should have ever left San Diego in the first place. But
back to Qualcomm.
Unfortunately, politics in California, as you all know, gets the best or worst out of teams. Look at Oakland, another situation that never got done, forced their hand to go to Las Vegas, and now the Chargers situation. I mean, San Diego and Oakland, I remember that rivalry for many, many, many years, and now all of a sudden, can you imagine Las Vegas and Los Angeles? I don't know. Doesn't seem right to me.
It turns me off that they do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's business, and that's the National Football League. It's all about the Benjamins.
All right, let's talk about John Gruden's dislike for Thursday night football.
John is a pure football coach. He doesn't want to see his players playing on Thursdays with a short week because the injury, are much higher. It's a long season, and it can wreck your season by playing in the game on a Thursday night. And I don't think it's necessary, but again, it's another money grab by the NFL. That's what they do.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that they've been playing Thanksgiving games on Thursday for a long time. So even though you have the short turnaround, you still have the 10-day break after that.
Don't you think that would make the Thanksgiving game a lot more special if they were to do away with the Thursday night football process? Because obviously it's already a traditional thing, but I mean, every Thursday, it's nice to watch football on a Thursday during a work week, but at the same time, it kind of, I agree with Gruden to a point, and especially for a team that's in the middle of a playoff hunt, they're right around 500. So, I mean, I don't know if that'll change anytime soon, though.
I don't know.
It won't.
I personally don't like the Thursday night games either. I mean, I like the fact that you have Thanksgiving built around Thursday nights. Even the night game on Thanksgiving and the other two, I'm okay with that because every sport owns a holiday. And when I say owns a holiday, okay, the NBA owns Christmas, the NFL owns Thanksgiving, NASCAR owns, or auto racing owns Memorial Day. You get the drill.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tradition means a lot.
right, it does. And I have one more note that and then we'll go with the rest tomorrow. Nick Foles is going to start over Gardner Minshew following the Jags bye. Good decision or bad decision?
That's the only decision they can make. I believe they gave him $10 million to come down there and play. They got to see what they got. Jacksonville cannot move the ball on offense. I watched the game on Texans. The Jacksonville Jaguars looked horrible on offense. I think the Minshew mania is over with. I think Minshew has proven to be a quality backup. Unless they put more, people around him and build a better team around him, you can win with both quarterbacks. But right now, Nick Foles is the guy, and they're going to have to put him back in there, see what he can do, and it's his job to lose.
Yeah,
that's the way the league works.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the game in London added some clarity to the whole situation because going into the game, Minshew was 13 TDs versus 2 interceptions, had a few bad series, but I think you're right, Bill, that his performance in London against the Texans made Doug Marrone's decision a little bit easier. Now had the Jaguars been 7-2, different story, but they're 4-5, still trying to get in the playoff race. So,
yeah, no doubt. And the other thing too is, Minshew came in, and like I said before, we talked about this at Baker Mayfield too. Once they get 7 or 8 games on you, they can figure out, what to take away what you do best. Okay, and he did not play well against the Texans, flat out.
Right.
And I think it kind of got exposed for, what kind of quarterback he would be long term. I think he's a guy who's a solid backup and could be a starter, and you need 2 at every position. So Jacksonville should be real comfortable with the quarterback position.
I mean, the one thing I'll say about that before we preview our show tomorrow is Doug Marrone did a super job handling the whole situation when it could have been a much bigger controversy than most. He brought them both in there, talked to them both. I think Gardner knew that when Foles came back, that it was his job. But, Gardner got some great experience during the preseason as well as an 8-game and I think he passed the test for the most part to realize that he is our quarterback of the future. So with that said, Bill, let's give everybody a preview of our show tomorrow night. What's on your mind tomorrow?
We can talk about a variety of topics. We can start out with what's going on in Florida State. There. We could talk about the Ravens did exactly what I told you they would do last week against New England, the team to beat in the AFC. I think you're starting to see a new breed of cat playing quarterback. I think that's where we're going with a lot of some organizations. So those are the 2 topics we can talk about right now, and we can also talk about some of the knucklehead stuff that's been going on with social media.
Oh yeah,
with some of these guys that are just burying their careers because of a lack of common sense.
Yeah, and you know what, Bill? What I love about our show is the fact that we're able to talk about issues in and out of the sporting world, and I think that's the one thing here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network that we're trying to have a lot of versatility. I should point out to you that Lewis and I are going to create a broadcast that Lewis likes with baseball, and I think that's something that'll be pretty good. So maybe one of these days we'll bring you on there so you can talk a little bit of baseball, and we'll have a separate baseball show altogether. How do you like that, Bill?
Oh, I'd love it. That'd be great.
You'll be an early guest on the new show. We already got a preemptive title, 108 Stitches, Baseball Around the Horn. So, yeah, I mean, should be fun. Yeah, Scott wanted me to conjure up about 10 names, and the first one I threw out there he loved. He kind of, it was kind of like Burger King or McDonald's slogan. He just, he zapped it up right away, and that's probably what we're going to go with.
I don't know. How do you bring Burger King and McDonald's on that one?
Have it your way. I mean, I'm loving it.
All right. Now you might be getting into there. I mean, those restaurants once upon a time were good, but if you're going to justify it that way, I might be able to get there, but Bill, I got to tell you,